Day 3 of gymnastics competition at the World University Games in Chengdu, China. And after China claims the men's team artistic gymnastics title, an experienced women's team will aim to follow suit today. We'll be focusing on Subdivision 2, which features China, Germany, Spain, and gymnasts from Argentina as well. It's not just about who gets on the podium today, but it also serves as individual qualification, of course. I'm Richard Newman. Joining us today, Vincent Walduck, Eurosport's gymnastics expert. And Vincent, China looking like the favourites here. And the World University Games, an event that you have experience of.
Yes, we're looking forward to a very exciting competition at this incredible arena. And for me, it brings back great memories. I competed for the British team 40 years ago at the Student Games in Edmonton. Was also the GB coach in 2013. So great memories, this competition. Really excited and looking forward to seeing the results and the passion that these athletes bring to this competition.
What's it like when you get to this? I mean, for most of these athletes, a lot of the Chinese team have done these sort of events before. We'll come on to them a little bit later and go through the gymnasts who'll be lining up today. But for a lot of these athletes, it'll be the first time they've been at an event as big as this. It'll be the first time they've been at a multi-sport games as well. So to set them up for the rest of their career, potentially, if they're going into an elite level, then it's a big event for them.
It is. Just to give you a little bit of background, it's for gymnasts that are qualified by being in higher education or being undergraduates or graduates, so normally in the 18 to 25-year-old age band. There are 152 men participating in this event, but only 50 women. 7 women's teams, but 17 men, so much stronger in the men's competition.
You've seen the men's team competition over the last few days. So many in that they were separated over 2 days. Competition won by China. And China have sent an extremely strong team to the women's event as well, as they try to bring home gold in front of a home crowd in Chengdu.
Richard, what's interesting though is this competition is every 2 years, but of course this one has been delayed for 2 years because of Olympics and COVID and other setbacks. So it was in Naples in 2019, and it's been 4 years since the last World Student Games, or Universiade as it's also known.
Change of host as well. Chengdu stepped in 4 years later then. We're continuing with the World University Games, and that does also mean that the selection criteria has been widened. So those athletes who are in higher education, in that university education, the maximum age was heightened. So slightly older athletes can compete in this one, just because they would have missed out during COVID. We're about to see the teams introduced to the arena at the Dong'an Lake Sports Park. We'll take you through the format in just a bit. We're not necessarily going to find out who the gold medal winners are in this session, but we might go a long way towards it. There's one subdivision to come later on as well. It features Japan, South Korea, Chinese Taipei, and Finland. So the medals will be decided a little bit later on, but with China the favourites, we know a few scores to look out for in terms of the last winners of this format in 2017, which was Russia. And we can sort of have an idea of where to gauge what might be near a winning score, maybe an unassailable score.
Different federations prioritise competitions in different ways, and for many governing bodies, they do not prioritise the student games for funding. But for the Chinese team and Japanese teams, they're looking exceptionally strong. Great to see the camera panning round to the excited spectators.
We see the two teams come out first of all then, Argentina and Spain. And Argentina, as you see, just a team of 2, which means it's more about individual competition for Lara Damasiko and Faustina Pescucci. There you see them.
Reminds me of all the adrenaline and tension that these gymnasts will be feeling as they prepare. They'll have been in a warm-up gymnasium behind the main arena, and they come out into this dazzling competition venue, bright lights, adrenaline coursing through their bodies as they prepare mentally and physically for their 4 special routines.
They've not even come out yet, but listen to that cheer for the Chinese team. Led out though by Germany. There is Sophie Schaeder, the most experienced out of this entire field in terms of her age and her longevity for Germany. She'll be hoping to inspire her teammates to a high level of performance. She knows exactly how to handle these kind of occasions. And the Chinese team, full of world medalists, athletes who've been at the Olympics before. And China look fairly relaxed, just chatting away to each other. The pressure's on them. They're about to get underway with the women's team final. The gymnasts making their way to the first pieces of apparatus, so we get the first rotation. Women's team final, day 3 of artistic gymnastics at the World University Games in Chengdu. And there you saw the allocations for the first rotation. This is Argentina on the vault. So Argentina on the vault, and Germany for the uneven bars.
So there are 2 teams on each apparatus. We're on vault and bars to start with, and then we'll be moving around in the Olympic order. That's vault to bars, onto beam, and finishing on floor. And each of those 2 teams will get a little warm-up, a 30-second touch per gymnast to just acclimatise themselves with the equipment, the lighting, the arena. Judges will be scrutinising the time, making sure that they follow every rule. There's that precious magnesium, the chalking up process, which is so vital for gymnasts to have the maximum grip. We also have some extras like water spray or sometimes honey or orange squash to enhance that grip.
How do you apply the orange squash?
Well, you imagine those sticky fingers that your children leave you with.
Yeah.
That can be an advantage when you're swinging around the bars, doing really dynamic skills.
Yeah.
So just 2 gymnasts in the Argentinian team warming up on vault, and they get 2 vaults, 2 warm-up vaults each. Here's the German team on the asymmetric bars. Probably just going to do a few elements or maybe a half routine if they're not one of the first gymnasts.
The gymnast you saw on the bars just now was Sophie Schaeder, the Olympic bronze medalist on this piece of apparatus, Rio 2016. Gymnasts going through their final warm-up exercises before we get this team competition underway. But for these Argentine gymnasts that we're seeing right now, Lara Damasiko and Faustina Pascucci, both 19 years old, it's about trying to make their way through to the individual events.
So later on in the week there'll be an individual all-around competition. I think, Richard, you said top 18, and then the individual apparatus event as well to find out who is the champion on those 4 pieces.
So quiet inside the arena at the Dong'an Lake Sports Park as the Chinese crowd wait expectantly for their team. First up though, Germany and Ayu Zhu.
Coach takes the springboard out. First to the high bar with that toe on and off skill with half turn into the front summy. Successful recatch. Changing bar from high bar to low bar, but she's got to try and hit the handstand, so there'll be a little penalty there for inaccurate handstand positions. Ooh, had to fight on the 360-degree turn, but managed to keep going. Half turn into the front giant. Looking for a front summy dismount. There it is, front summy with the full turn. Successfully navigated, but so there was a break point there where she had to fight, regain her balance on the 360-degree turns. Gymnasts have special leather attachments to their hands to enhance their grip. There's the forward downswing into the straddle front summy. Catching on straight arms, that's what the judges are looking for, so maximum amplitude and swing. This is the skill where she didn't quite maximise. Oh, they've cut to the change of bar, where she didn't quite hit the low bar handstand. Building up speed with the front giant, into that straight front with a full turn. All these elements are categorised from A to G according to their difficulty.
Probably about time we take you through the format. So 4 teams competing in this session, though Argentina have just 2 gymnasts, so you can discount their score essentially. It leaves us with 3 teams competing for the medals in the team competition, 4 athletes representing each country. 4 disciplines: vault, bars, beam and floor. And the top 3 scores from each nation in each discipline will be the score carried forward. It doesn't necessarily mean that all 4 will compete on each apparatus. Of course, they've got their individual events to think about as well, but the 3 scores are what's needed to take forward, and just 3 gymnasts on each may be enough for those nations.
So there are 6 judges that will evaluate the execution, the stylishness and the straight legs and pointy toes, and 2 judges that will evaluate the difficulty. Those 2 scores will be added together.
This is Faustina Pascucci, 19 years old, from Argentina.
So a maximum of 25 metres on the run-up. There's that Yushchenko vault, named after Natalia Yushchenko, the Russian gymnast who first created it. It's the cartwheel or the round-off movement onto the springboard, and then she does half a backflip to handstand and 1.5 somersaults. There's that 25-metre run, builds up the speed, round off. There's a hand placement to cushion your wrists. There's the backflip and 1.5 summies, curly toes as she whizzes round.
A solid start for Pascucci.
Judges will be evaluating style. There's those tram lines you can see where she jumps to the side, that's a penalty. And they'll be also evaluating height and distance to compare it with the tariff that vault is worth.
It's gone through a lot of effort to get here, Pascucci. She crowd-funded to get to Chengdu, appealing for people to donate what would be a price for coffee to help her get here. So it means a lot to her.
It's a life-changing experience, multi-sport event, really great atmosphere amongst all the students. About 12,000 competing in total.
But when you've got the opportunity to be there, you don't really want to miss out.
And for many, it's the highlight of their career as their career comes to an end, often with national team performances. Second vault. Instead of the Yushchenko type style, it's a She does a half turn onto the vault in the handstand position, and then a 1.5 back somersaults off her hands in the pike shape. It's called a Sukahara, created back in 1976 by one of the male Japanese gymnasts, Mitsuo, and his legacy lives on. So gymnasts that do 2 vaults will be trying to rank for the vault final.
Well, this is Sophie Shader, the most experienced gymnast in this field, 26 years old, Olympic bronze medalist in this event at Rio 2016, a European Games silver medalist. She's training to be a coach now.
Watch out for some incredible bars. Confident, stylish start. Lovely legs together on the cast handstand. Spot on the stalled full turn. Lovely line. There's that low bar, high bar transition called a shap, named after its originator. Kicks the heels to rotate quickly on the front semi. Builds up the cranking speed of the giant. Miles high in the full twisting double back. That's impressive.
Well, Germany want to have a decent competition. Then they needed a big performance from Sophie Shader in her specialist event.
That straddled leg position is called a Stalder shape. Lovely lines in the handstand on that bar transition. Changes direction. Here's that skill I called a Shapish Nikova with a half turn. Gets an E rating, so that's 5/10 for that skill. Onto a difficulty score. Whips round in that wonderful Jaeger somersault. Lovely, perfectly stretched legs and feet. Even stylish as she's whizzing round double back with a full turn.
She looks happy enough with her effort. Sophie Shader. She waits to find out what the judges think.
So there we are. Execution was 8.6. So the judges have taken 1.4 points for errors they spotted.
Shader waiting to find out whether she's helped Germany get off to a good start. Expecting a decent score here then, Vincent. Expecting a good score to get Shader up and running.
Yes, I think she couldn't have done it a lot better, so she'll be very pleased that all that training's paid off and she's produced it when it counts.
Just how nerve-wracking is it when you're waiting this long for the judges to come back with their verdicts?
Well, different athletes cope with that in different ways, she'll have been competing for probably 15 years of her life, so built up lots of experience to keep under her belt to manage those stresses. But you mentally rehearse, try not to let the pressure get to you, do some calming drills to relax but focus and be at your... There's the judges analysing some video playback if they need to.
Say about that experience, you can see in that replay just now on her forearm that tattoo of the Olympic rings.
So they're giving her a difficulty score of 5.4. That's will be up there with the best, and taken 1.7 off the execution score.
Shader on the board then. Here's Natalie Wolfgang.
Starting on the low bar. Coach there for a bit of security. Catching the shap on fingertips. So needs a little bit of reassurance, but the coach is allowed to stand and spot, but not touch the gymnast. Transitions between high bar and low bar. There's that giant with a half turn. Front semi recatch in the pike position this time, but she's struggling, couldn't get her shoulders over on that cast and come to grief, but managing to pick up her swing. Wonky on the giant full, but manages to save it. But some big penalties there. Just a simple straight back somersault. We call it a flyaway as a dismount.
Not quite the same emphatic reaction that we saw from Sophie Shader just now.
Well, even though she didn't actually leave the apparatus, it will be counted as a fall, so she'll be deeply frustrated that she couldn't produce her best when it counted. There's many gymnastic elements named after originators. There's the Pak Salto, after the Korean gymnast. Now you have to show a giant with 360 or an element with 360 degrees of turn, and that's where she came to grief. You might see it on the replay. Trying to keep shoulders over to do the handstand pirouette, the half turn. So the judges are going to be very severe on some of those penalties. As Richard was saying, up maximum 5 in the team. Only 4 gymnasts can compete, and then they take the top 3 scores, so they can drop the weakest scoring routine.
So Argentina are done on the vault. We said just 2 athletes there. It's more about trying to qualify for the individual events. And Germany finish on the bars. So China, the favourites, about to step up as Natalie Wolfgang waits for her score. Unfortunately for her, it's the lowest. That's the German team have scored, so she won't be on the top 3 carry through, but Sophie Shader's 13.733 will help them immensely. Now this Chinese team, just to give you some context about why they are the favourites. In this, we have the double world champion. You were looking at her just now. This is Siu Du, but Wei Zhu Yan, double world champion in this event, 2021 and 2022. So the reigning world champion should be looking to defend her title this year. The 2022 Asian champion, and she'll be one of the favourites going into the Olympics in Paris next year. So to have someone like her at your disposal at the World University Games, well, there aren't going to be many that can live up to her class, aside from the likes of Sophie Shader. And you're looking right now at Wei. This is the world champion, just warming up, going through her routines. And then just to give you some context of the rest of the teams, well, we've got Luo Huan, a world team bronze medalist, an Asian Games gold medalist. Then you've got Yu Yushan as well, who competed at the Tokyo Olympics. So this is a very experienced Chinese team.
It really is immensely top drawer. In any competition in the world, this could be one of the winning teams. They're on home soil and they really want to show the world that they're at their peak.
Well, that's it. Potentially, if it was anywhere else, maybe the team wouldn't be as strong as this, but you want to deliver in front of your home crowd. As for the Spanish team, a lot more inexperienced. But their best hope, probably Maya Lassa Sierra, who we'll see in a bit.
So this is just warming up. They're just having that little touch to, they call it a touch warm up, to feel the equipment, the springboard, the landing mats. She's just spraying water, which adds to the grip. There's that bit of carpet that they bring in because the judges don't like too much chalk, so they have to tick lots of boxes. Make sure you don't offend the judges.
So just from a technicality point of view, when you've got you're obviously putting lots of chalk on your hands, you're watering the bars, you've got to find the right balance between it not being too slippy and too sticky, don't you?
That's right, and it's very, very individual, and different teams have different desires on that front. No, you can't imagine the difference. Some teams prefer lots of chalk, some prefer none, and scrub it all off. And then the judges get covered in chalk dust in their new blazers. You can see the Chinese have a much smaller handguard than some gymnasts. That's that leather protecting palm guard. And it's also very variable how much tension you have on the bar cables. So the coaches try and remember the exact feel that each gymnast prefers, how much flex the bars will have. So that screen shows you the difficulty score, the DV, which is still warming up. 2 warm-up vaults allowed for every gymnast, and that judge there is ticking off so no one gets 3. But actually, if you are trying to qualify for an individual vault, individual apparatus, you do have 3. So could be 2, could be 3, could even be 1 if you do want to save your energy. There are 2 different types of springboard according to how much you weigh, and you can choose whether you want a soft or a heavy, a harder board, a more resilient board. And that's optional. The coaches switch those in and out. So that's not her competition vault. She's just feeling the springboard and the run up and orientating herself for maximum coordination and dynamics.
That's Dorina Medina from Barcelona. Studies advertising and public relations at the University of Barcelona. You can see in your shot here that perhaps the highest caliber of the Spanish athletes, Maya Lassa Sierra, who missed out on Tokyo through injury and said it was hurt so much that she couldn't bear watching the Olympics. Dorina Medina, first up.
Very solid, Yushchenko with the full turn. You can see who's had sprint training, very fast down the runway.
And how much effort would you put into the sprint training when it comes to the vault?
Well, it depends how many hours a week you do. These gymnasts will be training, I would estimate, 20 to 30 hours a week, so between 4 and 6 hours a day. And it depends in your development years. If you've got time and you've got the expertise, it's good to run like an athlete with arm actions, and instead of some gymnasts who haven't maximised all their power. But then this vault doesn't require you to be at your 100% sprint speed, otherwise you're just out of control. So you're expected to be at sort of 80% speed in order to be able to control that cartwheel onto the springboard.
In terms of the vault competition, this is the first of the athletes that we're seeing which will count towards the team competition. As we said earlier on, the Argentina team, just a team of 2, so they're more focused on themselves.
So the square entry, forward somersault only, handspring with the pike summy. So remember, gymnasts that do 1 vault, that goes towards the team score, and if you want to try and qualify for the vault final, you do a 2nd vault, but they have to be different. So she did a Yushchenko first, and then the handspring front. Right, take a look at this routine and the complexity of their swinging in this funny grip we call eagle giants or inverted giants, where you twist your baby fingers together, and they are the masters of that, adding pirouettes and complex turns to those incredibly difficult swings.
Siyu Du, she was an alternate when China won team bronze at the Worlds in 2018.
There's the first release skill, catch-off skill, the back straddle over the bar. A bit of coach support for the Packs the Shap into that, swing back into the Gingasami, that back summy with half turn. Here's those complex turns I was talking about in the funny grip. Eagle, multiple turns and 1.5 twist to finish off. Dismount to come. Cranking up the speed into the double straight. Whoa! Knees nearly buckled, but she managed to save it.
There's the total score then for Lorena Medina. 12.650 her total score. She scored 13 on her first vault with a slightly higher difficulty. When you look at this one then, and you said about legs nearly buckling, why would that be?
Well, there's so many forces at play. There's that Ginga somersault, that back summy with half turn. So she's got 3 release and recatches, all get high rating. But there's that difficult grip I was telling you about. Full turn and an extra half makes it a 1.5 twist. She's so high and is so desperate to stick it that her knees just crumbled forward slightly, which will cost her 3, possibly 5 tenths from the judges for that landing. But the rest was super clean and polished. Remember, all these skills I said get a rating from A to G, so many of those release skills are D or E elements, so they all add up to that difficulty score, which you'd expect to be near 6. Your teammate helps you chalk up to get the bars to be extra grippy.
I think for us mere mortals, just seeing the even just seeing the sort of hang there, just to get into position was quite impressive. Now this is the world champion, Wei Zhaoran, the class athlete in this field, double world champion, looking to retain her title this year.
Imagine the hours of training and practice. She's probably done this routine hundreds of times, maybe 5 a day. Immense focus and concentration. Eyes like a hawk to catch this bar when needed. Starts on the low bar. Perfect in the first handstand. There's that in-bar skill. Changes to high bar. Straight back to low bar. All these skills are D values. Perfect leg stretch and toes glued together. There's the full turn from the front giant. Full turn in the eagle giant, but she's struggling. She's come down the wrong way, so she's going to have to improvise with multiple swing half turns. It's not going to plan. Picking it up. There's the pike front summy. Did the coach brush her? Judges will be trying to evaluate that, but it's gone wrong again. Extra half turns. Really way below her best. Speed on the double straight.
What would have gone wrong there then, Vincent, in terms of where she had to basically make it up as she went along at the end?
That's right. So one of those giants had to go over the bar and she didn't quite kick enough. It's a very fine balance. When you've got to finish it, you've got to show the judges your accuracy in finishing handstand. And sometimes you don't quite kick enough and then you come down the wrong way. You've got to improvise and do another half turn, and then your brain's thinking ahead of yourself, how can I cover up? And then something else went wrong, and so she's covering up twice. Perfect leg point on that Shap half turn. Look how accurate they are in the handstand line. There's that twisted grip that she should have gone over there, but she didn't quite have enough energy, so had to improvise, but she managed to hold style, so that's creditable. Right front summy, it's got to be perfect, otherwise you can whack your heels on the bar. And that was the second mistake, a third mistake almost.
I say about that touch, I don't think there was a touch there. It did look close, didn't it?
Yes, coaches are very skilled at giving them reassurance and there for safety, but whipping their arm out just in time to not compromise the rule book.
By that point, Vincent, I mean, just looking on, it looked like there was almost an element of panic you could see from the coach, because he was starting to move in a bit more, back and forth, and that can't help.
No,
that can't help Wei either when she's trying to get her routine back on track.
That's right. When she's trying to improvise, he's not quite sure what's coming up because it's not going to plan. So they're both thinking at top speed to try and come up with quick solutions.
Would that help though? Because the coach, I guess it depends on the athlete, but then the gymnast can then see the coach in sight. Are they start to think, yeah, I know I've got this wrong, just let me get on with it?
That's right, there can be that, but I guess that those hiccups will have happened in training, so hopefully they'll both know the plan.
Well, for context, we saw Siyu do on the bars before Wei. We didn't see her score, but I can tell you she got 14.366 with a difficulty of 6.2. So that's something to measure when we see what Wei scored.
Wonderful leg stretch and pointy toes in the double straight summy. So gymnast choosing whether to do a double back with a full turn or a double straight summy. You can see the execution there has been knocked down to 7.366, so they've taken over 2.6.
Well, she actually ranks third in these bars. That will mean, I think, that she won't qualify for the individual final.
That's unbelievable, but the pressure got to her in front of a home crowd. She was so desperate to do her best.
Well, this is Yu Yushan.
Hesitant on the full twisting giant, but manages to keep it going. Into the front summy, the pike position, they're called the Jaeger. Having to cover up a little bit with some strength. Same combination as her colleague, the Shap skill into that somersault with half turn to recatch. Big speed on the dismount. Full twisting double back on this occasion. Super stylish in her toe point.
But incredibly, it looks like out of these four athletes, the score that won't count will be the one of the double world champion. And it also means that Wei won't qualify for the individual bars final. Just for context, that the first 8 women will qualify for the final. You can't have more than 2 from one country.
Yeah, so that's been a rule in place for a long time, so that in previous years that it could be that one country has 4 representatives in an apparatus final, so they cap it at 2 per country, but 8 gymnasts will go through, but not the current world champion. That seems unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just when it mattered and in front of that home crowd, she'd be disappointed with that. She came into this as the overwhelming favourite.
Yeah, she did seem slightly cautious on her first 2 skills, I felt. So I don't know whether her training's been hampered by niggles and injury or other factors. Probably busy studying.
Well, better to do it maybe at the World University Games than the World Championships when it comes around. You just saw that final vault from Carla Font of Spain. And it was Lorena Medina who scored best for the Spanish team, 12.650, 12.233 for Carla Font. So she will get she has contributed to this team. She hasn't taken 2 vaults. She's not trying to get through to the individual event, but she's tried to get an increased score for Spain, but hasn't quite managed it. So it's Medina, Lassa and Carla Hill whose scores will count going forward.
So final Chinese gymnast to go.
This is Lu Huan, part of the world team bronze medal winning team in 2018.
No coach in sight for this gymnast, lots of confidence. Fast in the full turn, in undergrip and in eagle. Different grips count as different skills. There's that straddle front summy, fraction close. There's the 1.5 twist, a little bit fast and out of control. Will the judges penalise? Maybe. But great sticking on the double straight. She meant business there, fast and furious.
She's been around for a while, Luo. She tried to get to Rio 2016, but fractured her leg in the build-up and missed out. She's always struggled with persistent shoulder and leg issues, but looked untroubled there.
Gymnasts often put on big warm puffer jacket type coats to keep warm. It could be chilly in the arena, or maybe they're not competing on the next apparatus, because it's maximum of 5 in a team, but only 4 compete, so one of the gymnasts will sit out.
So there you see the standings then after the first rotation, and it's China in the lead as expected. So if we go through then what we just saw as we see the athletes warm up for the next rotation, I mean, surprise in the Chinese team. We expected a lot from Wei Zhuoyuan. She ended up with the lowest score of the 4 Chinese athletes. Her competition won't go any further in the individual event in terms of the bars. The rest of them scored in the 14s, and those are the scores that will count going forward, and Wei just couldn't quite execute. And would you think that would be pressure? Because as you said, when you said the last athlete we saw Luo there, who ended up scoring 14.2. Didn't see that come up on the board, just so you know what she did score, with a difficulty of 6.1. But you said about Luo, no coach was in sight for her, but there was a concern almost from the start about Wei, despite her being technically the best in the field. Was that maybe they've seen something in training that wasn't quite right?
Who knows? It's an interesting question. But 4-mark lead is quite unbelievable despite those hiccups.
Yeah, so if we give you the standings then after that first rotation, China in the lead, 42.732, and as you say, Vincent, 4 marks ahead of Spain, who sit behind them, and Germany just not even a point back. So it's tight between Spain and Germany, as we were maybe expecting, but China way out in front. So next rotation, as you can see there, that's Germany warming up on the beam.
So beam routine was going so well with the acro series, but had a hiccup there on that skill, and that will be a whole mark penalty. Rock solid on the free cartwheel. Jump series, that's a requirement. Oh my goodness. 2 falls and she's whacked her thigh as well. Tough apparatus this when you miss your landings. Great support and encouragement from the crowd. Keep going, you can do it. That's super split jumps. Straight back into maximum performance. Really shocked her, I think. She took a momentary pause. Oh my goodness.
This is the most experienced member of this German team, Sophie Schaeder.
3 falls on 1 routine. She won't ever have done that, I expect, in training over hundreds of routines. But that's the challenge of managing adrenaline in these vast competition arenas. So taxing. Getting a somersault off the end, but the damage is done. So her execution score will be down towards 6.
Massive contrast in emotions from when she dismounted from the bars. Sophie Schaeder, she got Germany off to a good start, but you can just see in her face.
First line was brilliant. You think she's on a roll here, but there's the first mistake, the hug spin. Tried to overcompensate and lost balance there. Beautiful split position, but her left toes couldn't quite make grippy contact. Well, it's heartbreaking, but it's happened to the very best. You gymnasts that are out there watching, I'm afraid it's one of those things that's part of the sport.
I was just saying, a huge contrast in emotion. She just knew how big that first effort was on the bars, and then having that experience on the beam, and that's not really anything that you can or should really say to her at this point. She'll know how disappointing that was. She doesn't need anyone else to tell her.
The experienced coach will give her a hug and let her get over it, but no crying. You've got to manage that immense frustration and emotion.
She's just taking some time to herself there, isn't she? Just walking away and trying to compose herself. So Argentina on the uneven bars, and this Lara Damasceno of Argentina, and as we're saying, this won't count towards the team competition. These two Argentine athletes are just trying to see their progression through further over the coming days.
So as we've said, 18 gymnasts can qualify for the all-around competition, and 8 for each apparatus. But for these younger gymnasts, it might just be a case of maximising their career and enjoying this wonderful international experience. Solid on the first handstand. Safely re-grasp on the Shap skill. I'm not sure if that was meant to happen or whether she's covering up, but there's a 360 degrees as she transitions up to high bar to finish the routine. Good front summy, but scruffy legs. Changing direction into the simple flyaway dismount. You can see the difference between some of the complex double straight and full twisting double backs that we've seen.
So for her, was that just about keeping things simple?
You do what you can do and do it well is the mantra.
Yeah. Well, there's the score for Sophie Schader. It's the moment she didn't really want to see. Hasn't reached double figures for Germany.
But remember, they can drop one score, so if the other three can pick up with solid routines, they could cover that in the team competition.
Yeah. And that's it really, isn't it? With all her experience, 26 years old, it'd be about composing herself and just trying to inspire her teammates now.
But she's also going to want to try and make that all-around competition, and with us carrying a score of 9, she's going to struggle to perhaps cover up that. So difficulty and execution will be massively down from some of the routines we've seen earlier. But she's happy, went from A to B. Enjoying the moment. International gymnastics, highlight of her career maybe.
Also just a huge opportunity for these athletes from Argentina who wouldn't have competed on the biggest stage, and they're competing with some of the biggest names in Chinese gymnastics here, and Olympic medalists. It's inspiring in itself just to be sharing the same arena with them.
Yeah, very, very much so. I can remember sharing a ring warm-up with Korolev, who was a big star, a Russian star of the time.
Yeah. We see that score then of 10.733 for Damasceno, difficulty score of 4.4. So essentially from that instance, she kind of did what was needed from what was required.
That's right. You train the most difficult skills you can, and then you've got to make a judgment to put them together in the best way you can to enhance your difficulty score and feel confident.
Next up on the beam for Germany, Elisabeth Wagner.
Now the other German team gymnasts have got to hope that their confidence hasn't been knocked. Solid start into the candlestick pendulum. Solid on the switch change. Eyes fully focused, saving any deviation in that free cartwheel. There's the compulsory jump sequence. Just simple. 10 centimetres wide, the beam, a metre off the ground. Well, if she touched with her fingers, they could count that as a fall, so costly mistake in that free walkover. Here's the spin in the crouch position, secure and solid, showing dance close to the beam. It's one of the requirements to show a variety of transitions, high and low. Simple backflip. And safe in the cartwheel. Back semi with a full twist. Well, she can say she stuck her beam. That was one thing.
Germany just needs some solid scores just to get back on track, really. She gets the double high five and the hug from Sophie Schader.
Backward dismount, catching it with your forearms. It can be a bit scary. You've got to judge the travel distance perfectly. You can see one of her feet has a sock on. That's what helps her spin.
Just to go back to it again with Sophie Schader, I imagine as essentially she'd be the team leader. She's the most experienced by far in this field. She's been there, she's done it. She's been at the Olympics. She's been on an Olympic podium. She's got that medal at home, and I guess because of that, she might sort of feel initially, you know, I've let the team down here. I was meant to get us over the line.
I wish I could say intelligent things to you, but we just say beam is beam. It can go drastically wrong, I'm afraid, even for the very best.
11.1 the score, and this is Natalie Wolfgang.
Lovely difficult mount off the springboard, the leap with the change of legs. Great height and style. Knowledgeable crowd. Only a B valued element, the back somersault, but solid in the landing. Trying to join the free walkover into those jumps, but the judges will penalise those for lack of amplitude. Split position must be shown, otherwise there's penalty. Hesitant on the spin. Dismount to come, no. Free walkover, solid in that acro skill. That's better. Showing the 180 degree split position. And the back semi off the end that travels, it's called a gainer. Hours and hours of practice for coach and gymnasts.
Was that the most solid of the German performances you've seen on the beam?
I think so. That C-back somersault was first done by Olga Korbut back in 1972. Can you imagine that? And that was seemed as record-breaking at the time. Too dangerous and difficult.
We'll see the score that the Germans have managed here. We didn't see Ayu Zhu in her effort, but she scored 11.166. So Germany consistently scoring in the 11s. And we'll see shortly what Natalie Wolfgang managed, and we switch our attention to China.
So the second team's now doing their warm-up, so this isn't competition. They're doing their little preparations mentally and physically to acclimatise their body and brains to their best performances.
.200 to score for Wolfgang, and those are 3 fairly consistent scores for Germany in the 11s. So scoring the 71s then for their overall score after 2 rotations. We're going to see Spain on the uneven bars next and China on the beam. China, of course, with that lead. A fairly solid lead after just 1 rotation. And can they extend it? Germany's slightly below par performance on the beam may make that so.
So coach getting the springboard ready for the first gymnast for her mount. Be surprised how heavy those springboards are. There are even special rules that you can't mark too many lines on the beam these days. Right, last 30 seconds of concentration. Looks at the judges. Maximum focus.
This is Zhang Jin, who came into this actually as the reserve athlete. So she's come on for
visualization. Sorry. The coach would normally take the springboard out, but she's showing her immense confidence by leaving it in, perhaps. Wonderful jump and Corbett flick combination there. Super amplitude and style. Focus off for the acro series. Rock solid in the 2 backflips layout. Just a tiny twitch on the landing. She gives one great confidence, but that was meant to be joined to the spin to get bonus points for combination. Dancing on toes, but solid on her landings. Great. 3 jumps joined together. Teammates can talk to her and give her encouragement, but the coach can't. Building up for a big acro series. 2 backflips into the double twist. Well, they'll be pleased with that. Brimming with confidence, professionalism.
Well, we know it's going to be the biggest score of the night so far on the beam. Zhang Jin, with her experience as well, 22 years old, an all-around gold medalist from the 2022 Asian Championships, and she also competed in Tokyo, so she's been at the big occasions before.
Look at that, that's photographer's dream, that split position. It's called a ring jump, where she drops her head to touch her foot with a pony. Tiny minor correction there. This is China's best piece normally. Mastery on jumps and style. There's that ring leap I was mentioning. Highly rated. Perfect. Watch the toes. All 10 toes punching on that double twist dismount. Tiji step back for control.
So for context, the highest score managed by Germany so far, 11.200. You're going to see that smashed in a minute by Zhang. And it will just show how much China might be on course to extend their lead.
A couple of combinations where she perhaps could have gained an extra 2 or 3 tenths on difficulty, but she's still going to have a big score.
come back to find out her score shortly. Over to Spain on the bars, and this is Carla Font.
So one coach does a springboard, the other is spotting, giving confidence. Giant with half turn into the front semi recatch, successful. Coach changes position for that bar change, high bar, low bar, they call it a pack salto. All these skills named after originators. 2 release and recatches so far. There's the 360, the requirement. Toe on and off before the big dismount, but it's not a big dismount, it's just a straight back semi. So a simple A skill dismount, but solid, no penalties on the landing.
She was actually the second of the Spanish gymnasts to go on this. Irene Callejo scoring 11.566 previously.
The judges don't have the privilege of seeing it in slow motion unless they have to analyse and an appeal takes place, but they're eagle-eyed and will be spotting those form and style breaks on every element. They can take 1 or 3 or 5 tenths in theory, so the pencil will be noting every error as they go through the routine. Big handguards, leather to give you extra grip strength and palm protection.
11.333 for Zhang.
The face says disappointment,
It
feeling
does,
that the
doesn't it?
8 on execution was harsh, and I'd agree.
I had to wince. It was a look of, really? From her, wasn't it? There.
It certainly was. I'm better than that. And I get the feeling, the same emotion. Good catch distance, but loses a bit of leg style on the forces of the bar when she regrasps. Had to fight to keep that swing going. A bit too much. Linking to D skills, gets a bit of bonus for that.
These weights, they must feel like an absolute age when you come off the apparatus.
That's right, you've got to learn to switch on and off, otherwise you just drive yourself crazy worrying about details of your routine.
And the camera won't leave you. See, you've got solid score 11.866 then for Fontestruch. Next up, Lorena Medina Cobos.
So using that split technique to get speed on the pike on and off. It's permitted. Good pike semi recatch, the Jaeger, the front semi. Low bar, high bar transitions. Fights to save the 360, the giant full. Building up speed on those crank giants, and that's difficult. Don't know quite what shape it was. Was it tucked or attempt at pike, but fortressing double back.
Are you impressed with that one? It looked
some impressive parts there.
Yeah.
Dynamic swinging throughout.
A lot more complex than front.
Keeps your momentum going.
China then back on the beam. Wu Yushan.
Opting for a simple mount just to get up and get going. Compose yourself. There's her low to the beam dance section. That's that box ticked. Acro series coming up. Handspring front somersault. Only landed on one foot, but she saved it. Minimum penalty. That's really difficult because it's a blind landing. You can't see the beam coming up. Lovely jump series. There's the Corbett flick named after Olga those years ago. Solid in the free walkover. Jump, back flip combinations all building up combination and difficulty value. Smooth and elegant in the dance section. Uses head and body. Judges are always evaluating artistry and dance. And double spin, almost lost the momentum but managed to save it. Super in the side semi. Sharp in the correction position. Dismount to come. Final concentration. Punch. 2.5. Just look at that landing. That's how to nail a dismount.
Exceptional finish then from Wu Yushan, a former national junior champion in the beam, and you can see why there with her talent on that particular piece of apparatus.
There's that first acro series. Look at those strong legs. Just managed to get 6 or 7 toes on maybe to save it. The special skill is to correct inaccurate landings and cover up so no one can see. She's sharing with her friend how she saves some of those landing positions.
Rima Medina, we just saw just now, 12.300 for her score. Best of the Spanish team so far.
Puff of the cheeks. That's that one done. 2 to go.
For the rest of their team, puts on her big puffer jacket. The sort of jackets you see football managers wear on the temperatures dipping below 0.
Yeah, these arenas can be chilly when they open roller shutters, so keeps all those muscles warm and focused and enjoying the moment, relaxing before the next piece.
14.200. The best so far that we've seen on the beam from Wu Yushan. And here's Wei Zhuoyuan. The bars specialist, disappointed in that. What can she do here to try and get her campaign back on track?
Round off backflip into 2 jumps. Solid and impressive, but not world-class difficulty. Caught this on the backflip layout semi. Solid in all the landing positions. Fantastic in the ring leap into the Corbett flick. Lovely original shoulder stand. Nice to see variety. Long, decisive arms in all the finish positions. I'm really enjoying this routine. Such composure and sharpness about it. Oh my goodness, spoke too soon. Commentator's curse, I'm sorry. Side semi, just fractionally out of line. Faultless until that point. Dismount to come. Just relatively simple double twist.
Well, she needed a big routine there, Wei, after her disappointing performance on the bars, to get through to that all-around final, and the beam is her second best discipline as a former national silver medalist, but with only 2 from each nation going through, you'd imagine that her games are going to end after she's gone through the next 2 rotations. So she's going to have to play very much the team player now, because she hasn't quite performed to her best on her 2 strongest disciplines.
Yeah, you're spot on there. She's got to put her team first and do her very best on the last 2 apparatus, even though her all-around chances may be ended. There's that side summy. She just didn't quite drive her leg over the top and deviated to the left.
We're waiting to see what Wei scored. She's not waiting around to find out what it might be.
Judges quick as we turn to the final routine, we think.
Yes, this is the last to go for China. Luo Huan.
Remember, you can drop your weakest score, so she'll be trying to cover up for that small mistake, even though it was a decent score. Wow, look at that. Immense height on that super layout somersault. She was landed and had to do a minor adjustment that wasn't necessary, perhaps. Jump sequence. That's super difficult. Half turn into a handspring or a noddy skill. Solid on the free cartwheel. All these acrobatic skills adding to difficulty, and she also has to do the 4 beam requirements. Give her half a mark each. Fast performance on this. Dismount already. Solid on the double pike, but the shoulders were down a little bit on the landing. But still impressive confidence.
There's the score then for Wei that we saw just now, 12.566. Not what she would have been hoping for. And it does mean that, well, there's the overall scores. And that's because Hua Luan managed a 14.200 on that beam. And that means that China lead the way. And they have indeed extended their lead to over 8 points now over Spain, who move up behind China. Germany, after that disappointing beam for them, have dropped down below Spain.
Argentinian gymnast, handstand walkover mount. Whoa, that was scary. She hesitated and almost came to grief, but managed to change the plan and jump sideways and save herself from injury. Maybe it was a backflip, tuck back somersault combination. There's the jump sequence. manages to save that free cartwheel. That was a good exit. Low to the beam section. Super on the double spin. Solid on the round off, full twisting back summy. You can't imagine the hours these young ladies have done. Maybe 20 a week, 1,000 a year for 10 years. 10,000 hours in a gym. That's one hell of a commitment. It gives them so many qualities for life afterwards. There's that hesitation. She wasn't sure if the take-off position was correct and decided to jump sideways.
I think the Spanish team may have adopted the two Argentines as honorary members. It's just this team of two. They've got a few more high fives from the Spaniards. And Pascucci, who, as we mentioned earlier on, has had to crowdfund herself to even get here.
Some gymnasts may, for tactical reasons, not do every apparatus, or for injury reasons, or some other sort of crisis, protecting themselves.
So we did rather rattle through the standings just now. Just to clarify then, China leading this on 83.965 points. Well, it's difficult just to take in numbers without seeing them in
I mean, Richard,
right
to lead each piece by 4 marks is quite incredible.
Yeah. And so ahead of Spain, though, it's over an 8-point advantage with we're only halfway there. And it just shows that China are dominating this.
We are expecting a strong performance from Japan in the last round, aren't we?
We are. We've got the Japanese, the South Koreans, Chinese Taipei and Finland still to come later on. But China trying to post a very big score to almost make it unassailable, or at least to throw down the gauntlet to Japan. 10.066 for Pascucci.
I think you're right. They look like they might be unbeatable.
First we'll see then of the floor exercises, it's Germany up first. Elisabeth Wagner.
So this 12-metre square, or 14-metre all-around square sprung ply surface with 60 millimetres of foam on top and carpet to finish off. This is where they'll perform their floor exercises. They've got to show the judges dance, jumps, spins, acrobatics, a little bit of a story to the music in a minute and a half. Gymnasts to do 3 or 4 tumbles. A double back is one of the requirements, so that's safety box tick, that round of back flip double tuck summy. Good flexibility on the jumps. Lovely 1.5 pike front combination. Confident and secure. There we are, final tumble, the back semi with just a full turn. It's confident and secure.
Sophie Schader, as you saw there, applauding her teammates, sitting this one out. It's Finja Safkin who's come in for her on this one. Schader just a reserve.
Was she always the reserve? Or has that been changed during the competition? We were expecting her to be a strong all-around qualifier, but perhaps she
was down as a reserve for the floor exercise. Yes.
Maybe she's carrying an injury.
She's got heavy strapping, hasn't she, Shada? Actually, on one of her legs. I think it's her right leg. Strapping on her thigh. It looks like.
Right.
That's actually her competition done. She's not due on the vault either. So unless there's an injury, that's the last we'll see of Sophie Shada, who's not had the competition that she wanted.
Right, when you commentate with me, you have to take note of the leotards and the sparkles. GER for above the German flash on the arm.
So where's this rate out of 10 for you?
Well, I think that would be too personal to choose my favourite, but I might keep you in touch on that later.
Sparklometer or something like that.
That's right.
So we're waiting to see what Elisabeth Wagner has scored. China just waiting their turn on the floor. They'll be next after Germany.
Look at the sparkles on the screen. The camera's picking them up with the lighting.
11.600 for Elisabeth Wagner.
Teammate next.
This is Natalie Wolfgang. (26 years old).
The one thing about this competition is it's like the Commonwealth Games, the friendly games. Everyone has great respect, appreciation and encouragement for everyone else. Double tuck, but way out the square. The judges will penalise that heavily. It's not as much as a full, but probably at least half a mark. Forward tumble to follow with the full turn. One of the main things that the judges focus on is the concept of artistry. How artistic and graceful and elegant was the routine and the choreography. Of course, it's a subjective sport, so everyone has a different opinion, but they do have some rules to try and interpret that. Simple third tumble.
She won't get the score that she was hoping for with that start.
Just a little bit too much rotation. Had to run back, but stayed on her feet, to her credit.
Natalie Wolfgang just waiting for her score. Germans scoring in the 11s so far.
Notice that some gymnasts have these little wrist supports because the wrist takes such a pounding in gymnastics. Just gives the joint a little bit of extra protection.
And how many of those, I guess it's personal preference, right? If you either had them for protection, but can they be a little bit off-putting in terms of when you're executing these routines?
Well, I think they become like a fitted glove or a shoe.
Right.
You're so used to them, you don't hardly notice they're there, and the judges don't penalise. They can look a bit bulky and unattractive, but saves your body.
10.800, the lowest score so far for the German team on the floor. And here is Ai Zhu, 19 years old, from the University of Cologne.
Super polished on the double spin. Engaging choreography. Springy girl, but springing out the floor. Super double back. Just couldn't quite judge the landing. Lovely combination into the straight front. Relaxing and selling the routine. It's all about performance quality. Stare at the judges. Make the connection.
I think we've established from that Zhu is a big fan of Hamilton with her music choice.
Is it in Berlin?
Good question.
We've seen it in the West End.
Perhaps she's come over here. Yeah, maybe she's made a trip to London. It's one of the most listened to albums, I believe, on Spotify. That one.
Is that right?
Pretty popular. Sort of cut down version of the opening track from Hamilton for Zhu. I guess that's the thing about music choice, isn't it? It's just trying to find something that you like, that inspires you, that maybe gets you to even really feel a bit more.
That's right. When your choreographer suggests something, you've got to feel a connection and be passionate about it. So this is a warm-up now for the Spanish team on beam. 30-second touch the judges will be checking on.
And the Germans have finished their rotation on the floor. I'll tell you as well, the athlete we didn't see was Finja Skafken. She scored 11 dead. Ai Zhu, 11.266, the second best of the German athletes on the floor. There you see the overall score, and you have to say the Germans pretty consistent across the board. Their rotations, but it's not troubling the team from China, who have an 8-point lead after 2 rotations, so at the halfway mark, and they'll be hoping to extend that even further. It's not really the Germans and the Spanish that they're really having to worry about. Spain, in China, my apologies. China are really looking to put the score beyond the teams in the third group, who will go a little bit later on. And they can only do as much as they can. They can't react to anything. They just got to put a score on the boards that they feel can't be beaten. So China on the floor and Spain on the beam.
The last part of this third rotation. Chinese gymnasts known to be exceptional on bars and beam, but sometimes fragile or underpowered on the jumping events. Let's see how they fare today. Signals to the master judge, and the green light comes up. Off she goes.
Luo Huan, again one of the most experienced on this Chinese team.
Wonderful hug spin to start. Very difficult spin in the double. Just the double tuck, relatively simple for world class gymnastics. Beautiful spin, 3 times round, 3.5. So ticking the boxes, but not exceptionally difficult tumbles, but beautifully presented and performed. Her own original style. Vocals not allowed, but you can have special effects like that. Mastery of jumps. The double tuck first and finishing with, even when she's tired, with a difficult double pike semi.
Well, I can't say I was as familiar with that track as the previous one, but we've definitely taken things up a gear in terms of the performance level after seeing the German team. Luo Huan with a solid performance on the floor there to get her team underway in this part of the rotation.
Traditional music ruling on this case. Lovely technique, head still. Ticking all the boxes, great choreo. Let's see how the judges feel. So much emphasis in gymnastics on execution and perfection of lines and landings that sometimes it's a good thing to opt for that perfect style in the backflip. Bit of a character.
Well, while we wait for that score, see the first of the Spanish athletes on the beam, Carla Fon.
Single squat through mount. Bit of short of rotation on that landing and stumbled forward. Ballet training so important for this apparatus. Leg stretch and toe point. There's a solid back semi, well done. Saves the free cartwheel, a little bit misaligned landing. Dismount to come. Box solid on the straight back with a full turn.
It doesn't matter how many times you see it, and you see this all the time, Vincent, in training and just in the gym generally, but it's still pretty amazing that humans can do this on such a narrow beam with such force and still keep that balance. 12.666 for Loire Juan on the floor.
It's brutal. These girls pick up some nasty bruises when they miss these skills, which inevitably they do sometimes. And I can guarantee for most people, just standing on the beam with balance and confidence is a big ask. Feels like you're 20 metres up, not one.
Well, that's statements, and I gave it a go at my 3-year-old daughter's event, like they have a event for toddlers, and I just tried to run along it just to catch up with her. She was a lot better than I was.
Yeah.
And she dived into the foam. And it's not easy just standing on it, is it? The skill
it really isn't.
Of these gymnasts
10 centimetres wide, about the width of a mobile.
Carla Font then just waiting for her score, 10.266. It's the lowest score of the Spanish gymnasts so far. Next up, Maya Lassa, who is potentially one of the strongest of this Spanish team, and she's the one who was left distraught when she couldn't get to Tokyo because of that injury.
Yeah, you can see straight away she's got some quality. Great round of straight semi-mount and rock solid on a backflip layout. Precise on the landings of that switch side semi-jump. Super accuracy, hitting the 180 or the horizontal leg positions. Extremely impressive so far. That's the free walkover skill, all the elements. Well, I'm hoping that she makes a beam final with this quality. Concentration to the end needed. Slams the foot down on the hug spin. Last 5 seconds. Big focus on the end. Well, simple dismount, but perfection of landing. Well done.
She looks pretty happy with that.
Personal coaches and support team, medical staff.
You can hear the crowd giving their encouragement for Yu Yushan.
Concentration on the first tumble. Whip, 2 whip semi into triple twist. That's super. Tiny step out, but it'll be a minor penalty. 2 whips into triple. That's well rewarded. Two and a half twists into the pike semi. You can see the spin sock helps her toes not get caught stuck on the carpet. Double tuck, third run. Facially selling it. Super spin. How many was that? 4? Oh, interesting, engaging choreo. I'm sure the judges will be impressed with that.
Yeah, terrific performance that from Yu Yushan, and she really exuded confidence there, didn't she? She was some panache.
Lovely word.
Maya Lasser, 12.300 for that routine on the beam that we've just seen. The highest score we've seen on the floor so far, 13.266, just for context, when we see Yu Yushan's effort.
Well, I enjoyed it. I'd be up towards 14. Look at that difficult two whip summies. Spins the body like a top. Triple twist, 1,080 degrees. Bounces into the front summy. Sticks it and carries on with the dance. Beautiful.
I think you mentioned it, Vincent, as the routine went on, you could see it in her face that she looked like she was enjoying it more and more. She was really growing into it as she was going, and more and more confidence.
That's right, and that's what the judges will reward, I think. Right, jackets on, one piece to go, stay warm. Soaking up the moment. Engaging face.
Nervy weight for Yu Yushan. Should be hoping for a big one here. You see this replay again.
Look, there's a whip summy and there's a second one. Got to bounce like a ball. Take off with the right angle so you don't get too much rotation.
Flight is just extraordinary, you see, from these gymnasts. 13.766. Were you actually expecting a bit higher than that, Vincent?
I did. Judges are strict these days, though. You just have to accept it. That you've only got to blink and they take a tenth.
See you, Duke.
Good spin quality, all the Chinese team. Double pike to start. Perfect execution, the landing. Elegance in the dance, lovely soft arms, interpreting the music. Beautiful.
Well, just as we have seen throughout this competition so far, China really raising the bar every time they take to a new discipline.
Smiley faces all round, really enjoying the experience.
And she was the last of the Chinese gymnasts to go. Even the lowest score, 12.666, which is higher than all the German individuals managed. So we wait to find out what Du Siyu has managed here. But we know already that China's score is large, and that lead is going to extend. Looking back at that beam as well, the Spanish results, 12.300 from Maya Lassa, the highest scoring by far of the Spanish gymnasts, which will help them solidify that position behind the team from China. Will this be one of the best 3 scores that China will take forward? We're still waiting to find out Du Ziyu's scores. We'll bring you the standings in the team final very shortly. Du Ziyu, score of 12.033. It's not enough to take forward for the overall Chinese score, but 39.698 their total. One rotation left then in this women's team final, and China at the top of the standings. And their lead now is huge. 14 points over Spain, 123.663 after 3 rotations, 1 to go. Now, just to give you some context as to how this worked out, last time we had this format at the World University Games, it was won by Russia with a score of 163 dead. So China on course at the moment to beat that score, and that's the score that they'll be laying down for the likes of Japan to beat later on today. So anything around the 160s, early 160s, and China, based on previous performance at least at these games, will be well on course to gold.
It does seem unassailable.
But we've seen in gymnastics, it just needs a few below par performances, unexpected performances on the apparatus, and it could all change. Spain are second in the standings, and they've got around a 4-point lead over Germany, and that performance in the beam and the second rotation for Germany is really costing them. Maybe morale slightly down, but they've got to deliver here. They're first up on the vault. So we're going to see Germany vaulting first, and the 2 Argentine athletes on the floor before we see the final attempts from China and Spain.
The difficulty value of the vault, 3.4. Relatively simple, but stylishly done. Pike Sugahara. Remember, if it's just the team competition they're performing in, they'll just do 1 vault. Or if they're trying to qualify, you'll see a second vault.
That's Natalie Wagner of Germany.
Little slip on that forearm as she does the half-turn phase into handstand, but still manages a impressive push-off. But not a big start by Liu, that 3.4.
Wagner just waiting for a score. You can see the Chinese team in the background just getting some final bits of advice and last tips. When you're a coach in this situation, how much do you want to speak to your gymnast in terms of giving them some final advice? So it's the job done. You don't want to cloud their mind too much.
You have to be very aware of that some coaches just talk for the sake of it and bombard them with information.
This is Natalie Wolfgang. Incidentally, Wagner with a score of 12 initially.
Another gymnast doing the Pike Sugihara. Now, I think you ask yourself as a coach, what's the most effective comment I can make? Do I just keep quiet? Do I just give them a cue reminder of something that we focused on in training or warm-up? Because their brain's so busy, you just have to be very focused on what aspects you're going to prioritise.
I guess
it might just be a general reassurance even.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is try and put something fresh in their minds that they hadn't thought about before, and suddenly the focus starts to turn away from what you had going into it, and that's when mistakes happen.
That's right, yeah. These coaches would have been in the sport and with teams for many years, so you'd expect a high degree of sensitivity and composure. Sometimes the coaches get more nervous than the gymnasts.
Well, coach is happy with Natalie Wolfgang's score of 12.100. Festina Pescucci ending her rotation on the floor, quite literally to start with.
So in a floor routine, you've got to pack a lot in: acrobatics, jumps, spins, choreography. In a minute and a half, so got to be very focused and try and tick all those boxes. Saves the 1.5 front semi-combination. Sure and confident. Relatively simple tumbles, but just come do what you can do and do it well is her mantra.
Job done for Festina Pescucci. And now that we're on this final rotation, now we'll start to see how things start to shape up in terms of qualification for those individual events, the all-around and the apparatus finals. Of course, it won't be completely set in stone until everyone goes in this final group later on, but there will be several who are near the top of the standings who...
I think you could expect 2 Chinese and 2 Japanese in each final.
Yep.
So there's 4 spaces potentially up for grabs.
We'll see how that's starting to look as we come to the closing stages. Flying that Argentina flag. The 2 gymnasts, Lara Damasiko and Festina Pescucci, who scored 11.233. So Bastucci ends with an overall score of 43.899. Puts her 12th at the moment in the all-around standings. We've not seen everyone go, of course. Her teammate Lara Di Marsico currently in 9th all-around. So Di Marsico actually in quite a decent place at the moment. Just going through their paces, the Chinese team then ahead of their vault and the final events for them to try and build that, what they hope will be an unassailable lead. So the last of the athletes in this women's team final, it's going to be Spain on the floor. Just going through their final preparations, and China in the vault. And just what kind of score can China put down to the likes of Japan to beat? For warming up, we're going to see Luo Huan, Wu Yushan, Du Siyu and Zhang Jin.
So remember, you can have 2 volts warm up, unless you're trying to make an apparatus final where you can have 3 volts warm up. So it can drag it on slightly, but you could be exhausted after that. So we've seen Yushchenko with full twist as the most difficult vault. We're hoping that some will do the more difficult double twist to raise their game up to the standard of their other events. But they seem to be keeping it safe and secure at this point.
If we look at the overall scores in terms of the picture for the individual rounds, it's Wu Yushan who's the best performing of the Chinese athletes so far, above Luo Huan. You can see how high up the leaderboard they can get at the end of this vault, and you fancy they're probably going to be at the top of it. So about to get underway then with the final vaults. What can China put on the board here? And here is Luo Huan.
So difficulty value of 4.2. Yushchenko straight with full twist. Relatively simple for an elite international gymnast, but rock solid in the style and the landing.
And she looks happy with it.
So 4.2, the judges will take off maybe a whole mark, might be fractionally less for lack of distance and height. Looks impressive to me. Look at that, spot on centre. But they'll find some areas to penalise. Stylish, stretched legs, pointed toes, even at speed. You can't do it much better than that. Saving themselves for the World Championships later in the year, perhaps.
Guess you don't want to reveal your hands necessarily yet, with so little time to go until the World Championships. Keep that under wraps.
With social media, I don't think you can reveal much. But certainly they'll be protecting themselves.
13.200.
So they took a 1 mark for penalty, but it's not much really.
I believe that's still the best of the afternoon session so far.
So same again, Yushchenko straight, full turn. Was it higher? I think it perhaps was, but there's a big jump back, so perhaps it's going to even out. Let's hope their mums are there watching and cheering. Family support means so much.
Oh, Yu Shan and Luo Huan, as things stand, look likely to be the two main contenders for gold in the all-around. It's a funny situation, isn't it, when your teammates and competitors, they don't need to really worry about that until it gets to the actual all-around final. But
when you live and train that close together, I'm sure they might have private ambitions, but they're still a very close-knit group.
Yeah. Yushan 13.066. So her teammate.
So the judges were strict on that landing penalty. Same again, I'm afraid. No variety on this. Super tension and distance, but step on landing. Can she do better than the 9 execution from her teammate? There's that wrist protection mat in front of the springboard. Good technique. Gymnasts used to be marked out of 10 points, but that's long gone. Now they have an execution score and a difficulty score that are added together, so it's an open-ended. You could score 20 in theory.
.100, the second highest, just about, of the Chinese gymnasts. And the last to go, Zhang Xin.
Well, we've got something different. This is out of 4.4. Determined eyes and focus. There's that vault named after male gymnasts. It's a Sugahara type vault, the half on or the quarter on, with a straight sumi with full twist. It's called a Kazamatsu, named after the Japanese innovator.
When you've banked those 3 solid efforts before, I guess when you've got the 4th to go, it's a bit of a, if you look at it as a bit of a bonus, it might bump the score up, and if it doesn't,
that's right, maybe
pay off, then it doesn't matter.
You don't change your strategy because that's what she warmed up, but certainly they're going to have a bigger cushion than anyone else. But we were thinking they'd be 16 marks ahead. It looks like it could be 18. Job done, I think. Well done, team. Great to watch.
I don't speak the language, but they they seem pretty happy with that. Job done. And I hope that's enough. And we see the final scores come through. And whether that will be enough for the gold medal. They're going to have to wait a while. They've got a good 4 or 5 hours to wait. 13.000 Zhang's score. So that one won't count going forward. And it means that China finish with the score of 163.029. And that is pretty much exactly the score that Russia managed to win gold in 2017 when we had this format last at the World University Games. It's not all about China. Here's Spain on the floor.
Wow, fast and furious. Most difficult tumble we've seen so far. It's called a full-in back out. It's a double back sumi with a full twist in the first sumi. She sprints into these tumbles. Very confident and secure. Does the same tumble in the tuck position for her second run. So full marks for tumbling difficulty. She's now got to sell the dance and jumps and spins. Relatively simple third run. That front semi into the straight back. Sometimes gymnasts that do very difficult floors have trouble engaging with the judges, and outstanding choreography and musical interpretation. Difficult tumbling. Well landed double tuck to finish off. Superb. Got to hold that final finish to get best effect.
The job done then for Lorena Medina. She'll wait to find out her score. I can tell you that at the top of the all-around standings, Wu Yushan leads it. So into qualifying for that final. She'll be one of the favourites going in. 55.198 and about 1.5 points behind her, Luo Huan. And those two Chinese athletes at least 3 points ahead of the next best from the Netherlands. But that could all still change, of course. It doesn't matter too much until we get through to those shots for the medals, but just to show how far out in front China are in terms of the team competition and individually as well.
It's been a pleasure to watch them. They've been outstanding. There are some exceptional gymnasts in the Japanese team. No one in particular that we're thinking could excel and be in the top two.
Just waiting for that score to come through then for Lorena Medina.
Here's that difficult tumble I was telling you about. Oh, it's the final tumble, but it's rock solid on the sticking that double back. The floor shakes, but she doesn't move. Simple third tumble. Maybe she's reduced that for safety reasons.
Enjoying their experience in Chengdu. 12.400 for Medina, the best of the Spanish athletes so far. And here's the last of them, Maya Lasse. We've looked at her as maybe the strongest of the Spanish gymnasts. What can she do?
Lovely jumps, eye-catching style. Super switch side jump there. Choreography individually suited for each gymnast's character. Aggressive on the spin combination. Change the tempo of the music. Lovely foot extension. Double tuck and strong ankles to finish. Well done, enjoyable.
She's certainly been one of the most eye-catching of the Spanish gymnasts, hasn't she? In this group that we've seen. She'll wait her score, and that's the job done then for Spain. And they'll have to find out, wait to find out where they'll come. See their final scores shortly, and we'll see how all the standings are shaping up.
Stylish in the double tap, the knees together.
Glancing up at the scoreboard, just desperately waiting to see what they've scored. Maya, that's there.
Well, at least one gymnast will make the all-around. Could it be two?
It looks like it could be. We'll draw up the standings in just a moment, but Lorena Medina in a very good position, of course. 12.533 for Maya Iracer, the best of the Spanish athletes. So we'll round up the standings for you in just a moment. How we're looking with one more group left to come. In terms of the all-arounds, well, yes, Maya Iracer, the third best ranked so far of all the gymnasts, just behind the two Chinese athletes, Wu Yushan and Luo Huan.
She had a great competition.
So, good position, as we said. Medina in 6th place. And Ayu Zhu from Germany and Elizabeth Wagner in contention as well. We'll have to wait to see how they get on later on. So here are the standings. After this subdivision, China way out in front. Almost a 20-point lead over next best Spain. 163 points, the mark to beat for the likes of Japan. Spain second. And Germany in 3rd place. So that's how we look. China have shown their dominance. Will it be gold? So can anyone beat China to gold? We'll find out later on. A brilliant performance then from the Chinese gymnasts. They've shown their dominance and built a 20-point lead at the top of the standings. It's down to the likes of Japan, South Korea, Chinese Taipei and Finland to try and beat it. Spain in silver medal position just ahead of Germany, but it's China who might think they have one hand on that gold medal. That's it from us at the World University Games.